The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fight.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Flying Lion podcast. We are here covering a 1-0 win for FC Cincinnati. We're going to cover this and a lot more. Sam, how we doing today?
Doing good. Obviously, you know, we are back into the swing of things after a decent break. So being able to get back and talk a little FC Cincinnati is always good. But Ryan, I mean, wow. I mean, is a new scoreline. I don't think we've ever seen a 1-0 win, right? I mean, this is new to us this season, right?
Yeah, not once, man. These close goal games, we kid, obviously. But yeah, if you could put money on like any FC Cincinnati game, just a 1-goal game or like a 1-0 victory, and you would kill it. So we'll cover this game. We'll cover the second part of the episode, our jersey swaps, cards of the week. FC Cincinnati 2 was playing as well. And then we'll get into a little bit of U.S. men's national team. For those who aren't watching, Sam and I are rocking some of our U.S. stuff. And then Club World Cup as well. So we got a lot to cover today. But like Sam mentioned, second half of the season started with this New England game on the road. Again, a win 1-0 puts us at 10-3-5 overall. Pretty pumped about it. Sam, vibes going into it weren't the greatest, maybe, based on what we had seen prior to the break. But the guys had about, 2 weeks roughly to get back together. And, hey, a win's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're coming into this game, Ryan. I know last episode we kind of touched on what you're looking at from a New England Revolution standpoint. I mean, they're coming in with an unbeaten streak, since, what was it, April 5th? So 9 games unbeaten streak, I think. So one of the hottest teams in the East, if not the MLS. So, however, on the flip side, Ryan, you've got FC Cincinnati unbeaten in 3 straight seasons at Gillette Stadium, and last season actually defeated the Revs on their home turf for the first time since the inaugural meeting between the clubs. So that's kind of the pace that you're playing with the past 3 seasons. But like you said, Revs, they're coming in hot.
Yeah, no, they, like Sam mentioned, MLS, 9 games in a row unbeaten. Last time they played us was the last time they actually lost. They did have a loss in U.S. Open Cup as well. But yeah, I think Caleb Porter, his team, they were fighting for their lives in the last several games. But from our standpoint, we needed a big win, and especially on the road, especially because of June, 3 games, I think, Sam, all on the road. So to start this stretch, we needed a good result to kind of kick us off in June. Lineup-wise was a very interesting one. I know we had put out a poll about, maybe what we were going to see from the back line. It was just like everyone had predicted. No, I'm kidding. We had Luca Orishano, left wing back. We had Lucas Engel as the left center back, and we had Matt Miazga, who was back and healthy, with Gilberto Flores on the right and DeAndre Yedlin out wide. So, Sam, what did you make of the back line and what you saw, I guess, at least on paper?
Yeah, on paper, I think this was kind of what we were expecting. I know the only change you probably would have made is seeing Hadebe in the back instead of Engel there. But once again, Orishano being on that left wing side and playing that left wing back, we've seen him, slot in there for Pat the past couple games. So obviously you want that speed along that side, so that makes sense. But yeah, I think a lot of people, when we put out our poll, weren't so happy, with Flores and his form in the past couple games, but he gets the start in this one, and obviously Miazga back with the captain's armband.
Yeah, we saw a pretty typical midfield if we looked at with Buka and Wobodo and then Evander. But the surprise, Sam, was what we were going to see out of this break. What changes was Pat going to put? And Kai Kamara starts at the young age of 40 years old next to one Kevin Denkey, and actually worked out well in that first half, I felt like. So we'll kind of get into that. But the first start for Kai Kamara as well, for the orange and blue. Santos, Sam, out with an injury. It looked like apparently he had some discomfort in his legs, so we didn't even see him on the bench. And then you had Baird, obviously coming off the bench at that forward position. The question was going to be, would you see Dado or not? And you didn't get to see him at all. But besides that, the guys we didn't have, Hagelin, Robinson, Kubo, um, big names, had played a lot of minutes, this year, last year, if you look at Kubo, especially with that too. But the guys did with, what they had and got the result. This was Engel's third game, Sam, at center back. I thought that was interesting. I felt like maybe it was even more, honestly, from what I remember. But yeah, overall vibes out of it. It was a little interesting. But I think the two striker system moving forward might be something to look at. Like we had mentioned, having Orishano on the left in that favored foot, also something that was key. And early on in the game, you kind of saw that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having either it depends, obviously who you're playing, but I think sticking with a two striker, right, like you said, going forward, I think that's the move. But depending on the opponent, you either go with Kai up top or you go with a Santos, right? Santos, you're going to get more of that press and be able to turn the ball over up top. Whereas Kai Kamara, like we saw in this first half, was able to have a lot of hold up play, was able to, play off of him very well. So, like you said, high energy to start out. Our guy Luca Orishano, man, dude, he cannot buy a goal whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, he puts himself in a great position. He's got a breakaway. He kind of cuts off the defender to go into the box and just unfortunately hits one off of the side post. And it could have bounced in, it could have bounced, directly back out like it did, but it was so close. I am not going to lie, Sam. I was yelling like, thank goodness, he finally got his goal. And I see it hit the post, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Because I thought on the original way that he had shot it, it was very much like a reminiscent of Alvaro Barrial, in the past and how he had slotted it by the keeper. I almost felt like maybe he could have even gone outside of the boot with it, and that way it curves in a little bit more. I'm nitpicking, obviously, because it doesn't go in. But yeah, it was disappointing because we had some pretty decent chances, I felt like. New England had a lot of corners. They were kind of had balls that were kind of bouncing around the box in the first part of the game as well. But we definitely had, the best chance in that Orishano one. And then in the 26th minute, Sam, we finally get the breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, it was building to this point. Kai Kamara able to hold up play, and pass that, not pass it off, but like it goes to Denkey. Denkey is able to play, or Buka is able to play Denkey ahead. And unfortunately, Denkey, I think, just got a little bit too much on it, but Orishano finds it back post, and Denkey makes a great run to that front post to be able to knock it in. But I think the big after this goal, you see the celebration. Ryan, thoughts on the celebration with Denkey kind of kissing the boot of Orishano there.
Yeah, it was I had tweeted out kind of like the shoe shine. I guess it wasn't even that. He just kissed his boot.
Yeah, yeah.
He kisses
I think
his
everybody
right
was
boot.
expecting that. Yeah,
Go and look at the photo. He kisses his right boot, which is the most interesting part of all of it because it's Orishano's, left that crosses it in. But yeah, I was excited to see it. I think again, Denkey getting into the right position and being able to finish just like, we would love to see all of our strikers do. But for him to have better service, both him and Kai Kamara. So having Orishano on the left there, I felt like Engel in the past would put some decent balls in, but you're seeing more consistency and maybe a little bit more chemistry. That's, I think, what you're not hearing as much of. But Orishano to Denkey or Evander to Denkey, you've seen that in the last several games, and that's been building. So I look for that going forward. But awesome moment. You go 1-0 up. And you feel like from there, like, hey, maybe we can get a little bit more chances. The middle part of the game, Sam, was, let's be honest, was pretty boring. Even around halftime and a bit after, we don't make any subs. The ball is kind of played in the middle third. We didn't have really any big moments that I can think of until around like the 61st and the 62nd minute. Back-to-back Denkey chances. Very interesting in this one. Walk us through what you saw.
yeah. So first chance, I mean, you see kind of a good build up from FC Cincinnati from the left side into the middle. Great slip kind of ball from Buka to Denkey. And Denkey just he kind of hesitates too much, gets closed in very quickly, and he gets a shot off, but it's deflected. Doesn't really go anywhere. I think Evander ends up heading it straight to the keeper in that one. But yeah, second chance. something similar, where Denkey just the ball gets caught under his foot. He's trying to cut back from left to right, and he just can't finish. And he puts it wide right, which I feel like that was reminiscent of some of the chances we saw early on this season when he was putting stuff left and right.
Yeah, like the Toronto goal, especially he was on his right, cut over to his left to slot it away. I believe earlier on in the season too, I want to say Champions Cup match, same thing, goes from right to left, and it really throws off the defender. In the first chance, especially, I felt like he could have hit it on his left foot quicker. He tried to
Mhm.
cut it back on, onto his right, but when you're in that position, like, okay, maybe one time, but just don't do it again. Get that shot away. But he had the chance. I think the second one, especially, it was caught under his right boot. Like you said, it just goes wide. But he's getting those chances, those opportunities. And on a different day, maybe it's 2 or 3-0 and Denkey has a brace. Actually, it would have been a hat trick at that point, if he had all three. But besides his, Sam, would you say there was any other decent shots and chances? I would say maybe like Evander had like a header here and there, on the one around that same time, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And after about the 65th minute, you get to see like Corey Baird comes onto the field. You get to see, I believe some of the back line, gets switched up, or Ashano comes out. And I just don't know. We can kind of get into it now. The late game Noonan ball, if we want to call it. Like what's going on with this?
Yeah, I think once again you're seeing just that slow right pace of play in the latter half of the game, especially when you're up. It's almost that satisfactory, just hey, we're good with a 1-0 win here, and we'll just chalk it off as 3 points, right? Because that's all we really care about. And don't get me wrong, we love 3 points, but
Right.
Ryan and I were just talking about the way we play, and at the end of the day, goal differential matters. You look at our goal differential, I think it's +2, right? And we're sitting second in the East. Like that's not usually a team that's sitting second in the East with that goal differential. So obviously, the loss of possession, and I think you talk about here the willingness to play, having that energy in the second half. I really don't think we've had that player this season. I mean, Dotto probably the biggest one in the second half this season, but other than that, I mean, you don't really see a lot of people stepping up in the second half of play.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're up. Like if you're not able to do it then, like when are you going to do it? Like, because
Mhm.
especially when you're down, like in the DC game, we didn't see urgency from the squad. So, like in this one, for me, it's like knowing when do we go for it and continue to pile on the goals, and when do we want to kill the game off. And around, like I said, the 65th minute, 70th minute, at least go for it. At least keep the ball. Like after that certain point, it was just like we would get the ball and boot it long, lose it, and then they would come back after us, which granted, New England is down at that point, so they're going to be pressing more. But if you aren't able to sustain the possession and hold the ball up top like that, then teams are going to constantly be coming down your throat. And I mean, what did they have? Like 10 chances towards the end of that game. And that's just not sustainable. So, yeah, you won. And like Sam said, the goal differential is kind of showing like, hey, we've benefited from this, but it could be such tight margins in what it could be. And maybe that's a product to, hey, the defense stepped up in a big way at the end of this game, which, props to them. They did. They did after this break come out stronger and a little bit more collective, better communication. But for me, it's just you got to sustain possession. You got to get that second goal, that third goal. I saw a stat, Sam, that I think since last year, we only have had 4 games where we've won by over 1 goal, so 2 goals. Only 4. And we have 10 wins this year, and I don't even know how many last year, like probably 15 or 16. So it's kind of ridiculous. What is the goal? What is the attacking mindset, of the players even towards the latter part of the game? Like you were saying, like there needs to be an adjustment in those late stages.
Yeah, it's killing off the games. I know we've talked about this for most of the season, and that's just something we've not been able to do. And regardless of the this I guess the amount of points that we're getting at the end of the game, whether it be a draw or 3 points, but yeah, at some point, right, we got to have like this energy, and I, is it, what changes, you know? Like, does
Right.
that come from Pat? Does that come straight from the players? Because obviously we're missing some guys, but we're missing most of the guys like in our back line. It doesn't really
Right.
have anything to do with up top or in the middle too much. So I feel like that's where a bulk of the energy has to come from.
Yeah, and I mean, like we talked about coming out of the break, well, what changes, And the big thing was the two striker system. If that's the way we're going to run, the first half looked good. Having, Kai there to hold the ball up or win balls in the air, that's what we need, especially alongside Denkey. We've seen that. That's what he thrives upon, and he gets better service that way. Now, towards the end of the game, if it's not Denkey, they had taken him off, then what are we looking at? How are we going to keep the ball? How are we going to possess it? They bring in Anunga even at one point and have him and Obi as dueling sixes. I mean, that's a late on in the game, and that's kind of like the kill off the game situation, in my opinion. But that middle chunk when you're up, but you still, it's a close game. How do you find that next goal? And we had chances, like we talked about with Denkey. Maybe that looks different if he puts them away. It's just we got to ask more of these guys in those situations, and that's what I would look for, sustainable after this break is does the two striker system stay? Does Luca Orishano stay on that side? And then how does that translate now to more consistency in the attack and in killing off games? So yet to be seen. Again, hopefully we can figure that out. We've done well, Sam, playing in 1-goal games. It's kind of incredible. We are now 9-2 this season in 1-goal games, leading the MLS. 37-10 in MLS matches decided by 1 goal since the start of 2023. The next most, Sam, for wins is Seattle Sounders with 21. So, I mean, we thrive upon these 1-goal games. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, I know we're harping on, things right now, but ultimately wins are wins. And as long as we continue to get 3 points and just build our way closer to where we think we should be, I think that's the goal. And yeah, obviously since 2023, we've been the king of 1-goal games, being able to put those away. So now, Ryan, we also have the second most away wins in the Eastern Conference. So getting it done on the road, as well as at home, I think is a big thing as well.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And in the month of June, Sam, since 2021, FC Cincinnati are 10-3-3. Hopefully I'm not jinxing this. Usually when we put this out, this is something that can go badly and you can blame it on us. But yeah, we've dominated in June, for the last 4 seasons. And then this month it's going to be all away matches like we talked about. So it's going to be interesting to see. Montreal is the next one in about a week and a half, so we'll get to that eventually. But I feel pretty decent about that one too. Um, yeah, it's at least like good vibes in terms of hey, 3 points on the road. But there's still a lot to be worked on. I think everyone would come out of that saying, and it's the patented like Pat Noonan in his press conference. Well, the players felt like they could have had more. It's like if we say that for every single game, at what point are we actually going to have the more?
Yeah, yeah. When does that come to fruition?
Yeah.
Right? Later, when are we going to see it?
When are
Yeah.
we going to see that? So, but hey, again, second in the East, third in Supporter Shield, which is pretty special for where, a lot of us think this team is at, based on chemistry, based on performances. They're finding ways to win still, which is cool. But Sam, I'll take you into a trivia question here before we go to the break. So, trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV. Kevin Denkey has now scored in 3 straight matches. What is the longest goal scoring streak in club history?
Ooh.
We're gonna go MLS wise.
Yeah, 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 okay. I'm gonna go 1 game more. I think he's off. I'm gonna go 4 straight matches. Um, yeah. And then
Okay.
you want a player? You want a
Yeah,
player?
name me a
Yeah.
player if you can.
All right. I mean, I feel like Lucho probably it's either assist or goal, or he probably had both. I feel like he had both, maybe like 4 goal, 4 assist streak games.
All right. Well, stay tuned to the end of the episode and we will give you guys an answer. We'll be right back. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans. We are pumped to share our 2025 sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
Oh, dude, Peak Cocktails, I absolutely love it. I'm so excited to have them as a partner. Ryan, I am sipping right now on the blood orange spritz. It is absolutely amazing. If you're that type of person that wants something subtle, right? Little ginger flavor, this is the one for you. A little bit of a recipe, promotes exercise recovery, enhances the relaxation a little bit. What are you sipping on over there?
Yeah, I got the passion fruit margarita. It kind of fits my dad bod life for that I got going on right now. I'm trying to be a little bit more health conscious and have that lifestyle. But yeah, I could also sip it on the beach, which is nice about it. I mean, you can have that versatility. If you just want it as a nice sip, or if you want it as like a post recovery drink, like this is what Peak is. I mean, we love it. We adore some. I've been following Peak for what, a couple of years now. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
again, go check out Peak Cocktails. We love them. Next time you're looking for, like we said, any of what we had described, post-workout drink, just a little pick-me-up. If you're drinking on the beach there as the summer's coming up here, go check them out. www.peakcocktails.com and use the code Flying Lion at your checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Sam, enjoy that drink. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this episode talking about a win against New England. We're back on the second half of the season now as well. We got a lot going on in the soccer universe. We're going to cover it all in the second half of the episode between U.S. men's national team, Club World Cup, and then the MLS is still playing their matches. Of course, go figure, Sam. But here we are on a winning week. So jersey swaps are first. Let's hear who you had this week.
Yeah, so jersey swap of the week for me this week is going to be Roman Celentano. I mean, he stepped up for FC Cincinnati mainly in the second half this past game, picked up another clean sheet on the season. That's his sixth, and made 3 saves in total. So, Ryan, this notched his 37th career clean sheet in just 128 appearances. It's almost 30% of the games in his career that are a clean sheet, which is honestly, I was looking at some of the best percentages for clean sheet from the greatest goalies of all time, and he's right around there. So he's about like 28-29%. I believe the highest clean sheet percentage of all time is like 36 or something like that.
Pretty impressive. I mean, silently having a good year in the goal. Yet to be kind of seen if his distribution is going to continue to improve. But yeah, I feel like Roman thrives with consistency and the guys in front of him, especially like Matt Miazga. Him and Roman, I want to see the stat on how many wins together they have compared to maybe a different back line.
I feel like they're them in the back line is like big brother, little brother
For
like
sure.
feeling, like almost like whenever they get mad at each other, right? Or whenever Matt, does something great, Celentano's like the first one there, and vice versa.
Well,
So
you see it in this game. Right before half, one of their players Roman's collecting the ball on the ground and he goes over to him and almost kind of like nudges his head. And, Yedlin's there and Miazga's there to kind of back up their goalie, which is special to see. Sam, I think, did you mention he made the match day
yes,
bench?
yes, he also made team of the match day. So
There you go.
made the bench for this one. Good to see. Good to see that as well. I think that's his second, I believe, this season.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. My jersey swap is a no-brainer with Kevin Denkey. He is on a roll, man. Like I had mentioned, 3 straight matches with a goal. He's now got 11 on the season, third in the MLS right now in scoring, 10th all time in FC Cincinnati history for goals in their like FC Cincinnati career, which is impressive already, in his first season. But the guy's a machine. He keeps finding ways to score. He's having a lot of opportunities too, and he could even add to that. So I've been very impressed in where a lot of other strikers sometimes struggle in their first season. He is just showing how class he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it is funny. The past couple of weeks we've talked about, transfer rumors and everything like that. Luckily, nothing so far this week on that front. But yeah, they were talking like, oh, Evander, and you and I were kind of like, we're surprised that, Denkey's not getting any looks because
Don't
of
bring
the
it out.
yeah, I know. We don't want to jinx it. We don't want him to go anywhere. But I mean, the season, once again, he's got 11 goals right now in the MLS play, and it looks like it's going to continue even from there. So hopefully, next time we play Montreal, he can make it 4 straight games.
Yeah, I mean, if he had 10 in the first half of the season and he's got, won a game for the past
I
three.
I believe if people want to go back, I know we're going to revisit this at the end of the season, but I believe Ryan said 20 plus goal season, if
I
I
was gonna
remember
say if we
correctly.
go
Yeah,
back
yeah.
with where we're at now, I mean he's shooting over 20, maybe even 25. And we haven't had a 20 goal season ever, I don't think. I think 18 with Brenner and Vasquez
Hmm.
was maybe the most that we had in a single season. So Denkey's well on his way, and in all competitions, like he's gonna probably get there as well. But he also made the team of the match day bench, I believe, for his performance against New England. Shout out to him and Roman again for making that, which was special. But on the flip side, Sam, what did you have for your card of the week?
Yeah, my card of the week is part-time jobs, Ryan. I mean, if you didn't see the 10-0 thrashing that Bayern gave to Auckland City, you saved yourself $100, I guess, right? There were some Auckland City players that could not make the Club World Cup trip due to their part-time jobs. I believe it was the goalkeeper for Auckland. I think his part-time job is a forklift driver in New Zealand, and Manuel Neuer is actually his idol, so he got to play against his idol, which was really cool. But yeah, Ryan, can you imagine declining to play in the Club World Cup for a part-time job? I think that's just wild. Like you
So
have to
did
go.
he decline it, but you're saying he got to play against his idol. So was
No,
he
I'm
there?
I'm saying that they had players.
Oh,
That's what
there's
I'm saying.
other players
It was
that
other players. Yeah, I'm giving to them choosing a part-time job over playing in the Club World Cup.
see, this is what's going to happen if you expand the tournament. You're always going to have this imbalance. Maybe there could have been a different team. You got to give their fair opportunity. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much like a semi-pro team going in and playing the best team in Germany, like one of the best in the world.
Hey, they
Um,
they held him to 10. They held him to 10. They held him to
held him to
10.
held him to 10 is right. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, for those that were there, could probably attest. I hear it was a great atmosphere. You got to see a lot of goals. So, I
Yeah,
mean, maybe
yeah.
that's the flip side of looking at it, Sam. Like maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. You didn't necessarily like waste $100, but it wasn't a game if that's what you were going for.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. But Ryan, unfortunately, your card of the week, we got, the drama that has been filling up a lot of our airwaves in the US.
Yeah, my card of the week is the Pulisic and Pochettino drama. For those who aren't familiar, I'm sure you are if you're listening, but if you're not, Pulisic had come out publicly recently and explained why he didn't go to the Gold Cup, and saying like, "Hey, I wanted to come in for the two friendlies before the Gold Cup, but the coach didn't let me. I don't understand it, but that's his decision." Well, now Pochettino has to go and say, hey, I don't care what you think. I'm the coach. And I could see kind of both sides. Like, I want the player there. Why can't he even be there for all of them and just train with them, during the Gold Cup run and just be that leader and that presence, even if he's not playing? It's just become a lot of he said, she said, and like, how old are we? Like, just take it out between each other and we don't need to hear it out publicly. But he felt like he had to respond because he's trying to set the tone for the other players. And if your best player is that way and saying, I don't understand what he's doing, that's not a great look for the fact that we have the World Cup coming to the United States and this is our best player. It's very fascinating. And it's just been kind of eye-opening to watch, but hopefully it isn't a bad thing in the future.
Yeah, US soccer, never a lack of drama. Yeah, once again, I think you've seen a lot of voices talk about this, Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, on their podcast that they do talked about it extensively because Landon Donovan had said some things about Pulisic. So I think the main trend that is being said is this new golden generation. I think Twelman had said it too. Twelman apologized to everybody for calling this generation the golden generation and pretty much putting them on a pedestal before they had a signature win. And so I don't disagree with him. I think that's the first time I think you'll ever hear Ryan and I kind of agree with
Agree with you.
Twelman. Yeah, very often. But yeah, I think, once again, this generation's kind of put on a pedestal and they don't have to fight for their spot as much. So yeah, I don't know, Ryan. I kind of like that Potch. You have a manager that isn't afraid and calling out the big players. But once again, it adds more drama to it, especially if a player, reacts wrongly. And let's say, because once again, Potch, his comments can light a fire underneath Pulisic and go, okay, you know what? Like, all right, next time, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that, like I'm gonna live up to it. Or
Sam, I think it's interesting if you look from the FC Cincinnati side of like we all know that like Leagues Cup is not that big of a thing.
yeah,
Do the players view it that way? Like, let's compare this to the Gold Cup.
I
And
don't
if
know.
Evander said, "Hey, Noonan, I don't want to play in this tournament. Like, I'll be there. I'll be around the team, but I'm not playing. Like, I'm gonna try to be healthy towards the end of the season and go through the playoffs where I'm at my best."
Well,
Like,
which
how does that
one
go off?
which one do you think is a bigger deal, Gold Cup or CONCACAF?
Well, what do you mean? Because Gold
Well,
Cup is a part of
I
CONCACAF.
know, I'm just like, but they have a whole nother like CONCACAF Nations League, right? That they do that title, right? Because I think it's
Oh, they both. I think they're in the players' eyes a lot of times thought about the same because it is CONCACAF. It's a
yeah,
CONCACAF tournament, and so you're playing your typical teams, that you always do. And I don't know necessarily if it's the fact that they look at that tournament and say, "Oh, we're playing these guys." Maybe they do for the initial parts where we're winning 5-0 against Trinidad and Tobago. But I just think it's more of timing of it. And again, like with these guys coming off of their long seasons, and it's a trickle down effect as much as they're not going to come out and say it. But if your leader and your captain, quote unquote, is not going to be there, it kind of sets the tone and kind of gets other people off the hook in a way. Obviously, I don't know what conversations were said in the background. I just always thought it was fascinating if you compare that to what Leagues Cup is, and we have our Denkeys and our Vanders, and we say, oh, well, why risk these guys in injury for a quote unquote meaningless tournament? I mean, obviously, you can still qualify for things with this, but you're probably not going to see it. You're going to see more rotation, and it'll be very interesting to see how they approach this. And depending on if we bring in players in the summer and how that translates to, hey, do we want to get these guys back and integrated to the squad like a Miles Robinson or a new player that's coming in? Is Leagues Cup the time to kind of figure that out or not? So I think it's fascinating. I hope we don't have any of that drama. We don't need any more divas on our team. But yeah, it's something to watch. I know again we're both rocking the USA. We're big United States supporters, and of this country. It's very interesting what's going on right now. But back to FC Cincinnati land, Sam. The FC Cincinnati 2 team played the Revolution 2, and this was just yesterday on Sunday. Another 1-0 win. So 2 1-0 wins by, the first and the second teams. This is their second win of the season. They're still in 14th, but they're above the crew. So that's kind of nice to see.
yeah. So Brian Schaefer once again, 2 goals in 2 matches. He's now tied for the most goals on the team with 3. I mean, once again, this guy has to get a call up to the first team, loan him out to the first team. Let's see what he's got. I mean, just even in training, right? To be able to, hey, now you're with the first team in training, because I know sometimes they train together, but being a part of that group would be great. But Ryan, really, player of the match though, Paul Walters, 7 saves in this match.
Okay, I'm conflicted, Sam. I need your help, and I need everyone's help out there that's listening to this as well. So Paul Walters was on the bench for FC Cincinnati against the Revolution for the MLS match. That put us as 3 goalkeepers that were available for the game in the MLS. You can't tell me we would have possibly benefited, right, from Brian Schaefer, who's had a heck of a year, maybe being on the bench for FC Cincinnati, right? And as we said, to call him up. But then you see Paul Walters has 7 saves in this match on Sunday. So who do you pick? And I guess maybe they went with the third goalkeeper option. But let's be honest, when are we going to use our third goalkeeper on the bench?
Yeah, I would say it's very, very
Or I
unlikely
guess
that,
second goalkeeper on the bench, but third
yeah.
total. But
Yeah, a
still.
couple red cards, an injury, you're gonna have to go to the bottom of the barrel for that one. But yeah, I mean, Paul stepped up in a big way for FCC too, and yeah, I mean, once again, just one of those guys we'd love to see Brian get call up because for as much as Pat talked about him in the preseason, like we want to see him, and we didn't get to see that to start the season. He wasn't chosen. Somebody else was chosen over him to start the season in the Champions Cup and stuff like that. So, yeah, they play Ryan. This is the only FCC action we'll get this week is that they play on Saturday, and they're taking on Chattanooga, second team in the East. So, going to be a tough battle for them.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good one. Hopefully, they can get a positive result and continue to build, obviously on this win that they just had. But I look in the second half of the season for them to just become a better overall team because of all the moving pieces. And then at that level, you're not able to kind of get all of those pieces aligned, maybe as much as like the first team could necessarily. So we'll see. But we'll go back to the U.S. men's national team just real sec. With Miles Robinson, Sam. He did not start for them, but he did sub in the final 3 minutes stoppage time. Kind of interesting. We thought that he would get the run out, but Tim Ream apparently beats him out on that spot. I don't know how sustainable Tim Ream is like for the World Cup next year. That's a different conversation, I guess. But they play their next match on Thursday against, I believe, Saudi Arabia, actually. Again, another one where do we see Miles or do we not? I hope we do. I'm glad that he's not getting injured while he's there, at least from what we know.
Yeah, I think this was funny. Obviously, U.S. men's national team, like Ryan had mentioned, they won 5-0 against Trinidad and Tobago. And Miles coming in, third minute of stoppage time is kind of like, all right, like what's the point of this? What's
Mhm.
what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He had a decent run out, I think, in the first game against Turkey,
Yeah.
and then didn't play at all against Switzerland, and they just got rocked. And then he's obviously on the bench and he comes in only for a few minutes. You don't even really necessarily need him at that point. So I almost like want them not to even put him in that situation and risk injury in a meaningless game.
Yeah, well, especially up 5-0, right? And then you're going, especially if he gets injured, it's like, oh, all right, well, he got injured for nothing. It wasn't like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like he got injured playing, after 90 minutes and then, he gets injured at the end of or something like that.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, rolling into Club World Cup though, Ryan. Like we talked about, we had some games or had a game at TQL Stadium, but I think there was a couple games going on around the United States that we had to tune into. Did you tune into any of the Club World Cup games?
I did see Seattle's against Botafogo, the Brazilian team last night. I was interested in watching some of the MLS teams and just seeing how they would fare. Obviously Inter Miami 0-0
Yeah, not too well.
at home, as well against an Egyptian side. And then I believe that LAFC is going to be playing Chelsea here momentarily, as we're
Yeah, that's a
recording.
big game. Yeah.
So that'll be a big one as well. But Sam, my question to you, like obviously depending on what group we would have been placed in, but how do you think this FC Cincinnati squad would have fared the current position that we're in with our team and everything?
I think this is just something you're going to see over this Club World Cup is where the MLS is at compared to the rest of the world. And I don't think we would have done any better, to be honest. Just because the likes of Inter Miami, Sounders, I mean, we'll see how LAFC does against Chelsea. Can't imagine it'll be too close, but yeah, I think it just speaks to the quality of where we're at. And we're not quite up there in that top 5, top 6 league right yet. So I think that's my opinion on that one.
Yeah, obviously we've seen this team struggle with some other MLS teams that we've played, and it hasn't been pretty, but neither has Seattle
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
too.
no,
So in a one-off situation against these teams, like I don't know how much scouting goes into it, from Seattle, from LA, from Miami, in terms of how do they prepare for it. But if you look at Miami's draw, I think they have the best draw of any of the MLS ones. Obviously, Porto's a huge squad. Palmeiras, massive, massive team down in Brazil as well. But I feel like we would have at least fared decent there, especially if, hey, let's get a run out at home and see what we can do in TQL. Would that have changed? This is all hypotheticals. Would that have changed Miles Robinson's situation in wanting to play for his club versus his country if we were to have made Club World Cup, Sam? What do you think?
has he won Gold Cup before?
I think he has. He had a game-winning header, I believe, as well.
I mean, that's one of the things that would intrigue me if I were him is winning something I've never won before, or at least getting the opportunity to play in something that I've never played before. Because
Right.
being an MLS team in Club World Cup, very hard to come by. Very hard to come by.
Yeah, it used to just be like one squad, from
Exactly.
North America.
Yeah, so nobody knows when that's going to happen again, right? Like Ryan said, usually there's just one club. So being able to be a club in the Club World Cup is a pretty high esteemed honor. So I would assume that he'd lean towards that, but you never know. But we saw some other teams, Ryan, in this Club World Cup. PSG, I mean, they just left off right off of their Champions League win, destroying Atletico Madrid. Big thing that I don't know if you saw this, but I can't remember which Atletico player it was
Yeah.
complaining about the heat. It's 85 degrees out there in LA, and he was like, I mean, I can't really complain too much because the other team had to deal with it as well.
Yeah, I was just reading about that. One of the guys just complaining about obviously it's 85, but with humidity and everything, those guys are used to, the way that the European, climate is, I guess. But they had about 80,000 people, at that match. So again, I want to relate this back, everyone, again, listening more for the FC Cincinnati point of it. If it was at TQL, or I guess in Cincinnati, do you think we would have hosted there, or would we have taken it to Bengals Stadium to Paycor? I don't
Once
know.
again, I think it goes back to we have a soccer specific stadium for a reason.
I would hope, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that we're hosting Bayern Munich and Dortmund, I don't see a reason why we would have to switch. Like Miami goes to Hard Rock, and they play in the football stadium. But we hosted these games at home. I mean, how amazing would it have been? Regardless of what you think of the 10-0 game, but Bayern Munich, FC Cincinnati, in some sort of combo, or FC Cincinnati Dortmund, like that would have just been
Yeah,
incredible.
that would have been amazing.
Yeah, we can dream. Again, it didn't happen. It's been, I would say, fun to watch. I think I'm gonna kind of stay tuned to it. There's a lot of different opinions about it. Maybe you can watch, but maybe not go with the way that ticket prices were. Stay tuned to the ticket prices though. They're dropping down, and if you bought them before, actually, they might be even moving you, Sam. So FIFA is actually looking to get more people shown on TV, and go check your tickets, people. You might have been moved down to the first level for one of the matches.
Yeah, to get in front of the camera a little bit. I know you'll see maybe even some content from us. I know we're gonna go to
Yeah,
one of these games here, so be on the lookout for that in the next couple weeks. But Ryan, lastly, before we sign off here in a little bit, MLS All-Star vote. As of June 9th, still the same, I believe, as the last time we talked, but Miles Robinson fourth in center back voting, Evander in first. Where is Denkey? Where is Denkey in these rankings for the forward position? He
yeah,
now
he's not
sits
getting any love.
third, third in goals in the MLS, not getting any love.
Yeah, Brian White is the big talk, and I don't know why Denkey is not. I mean, again, just to show, like I went on my little rant about on the last episode, was just about how sometimes this is fixed by, fan voting and different voting. Sam, the mechanisms and how you can get put into the game, though, could be dependent on the coach
Yeah.
or on the commissioner. So
hmm
I think Denkey still has a chance. The voting period ended last week on Wednesday, so which was June 11th, I believe. But then starting on July 3rd, you're going to be able to start voting, I believe, for the captaincy. We saw Lucho for FC the last 2 seasons do that. Vander is probably going to be in the running for captain there too. He's not even captain on his own team though. So that's for me the one thing that's just very interesting about that. But stay tuned for that. That'll be kind of the thing to look forward to coming up. But for the next episode, we're not going to cover it today, but we'll have a preview next time of the Matchday 19, CF Montreal on the road. If anything happens between now and then, check our socials. I'm sure we'll be chatting about, players training, who's healthy, who's not, who we can roll out. But excited to maybe see, hopefully, Hagelin start getting some run in and getting his fitness up, depending on timing, obviously, and how things are healing. Kubo potentially coming back, from injury as well. I think is the other shout, but obviously Robinson's going to be gone for a little bit, as it looks like the U.S. is going to advance. So before we do go, Sam, I'll give you our trivia question and answer here. So again, the question was, Kevin Denkey has now scored in 3 straight matches for FC Cincinnati in MLS play. So what is the longest goal scoring streak in club history? And Sam, you nailed it. It was 4. So it's interesting here. There's a share between Brandon Vasquez and Lucho Acosta. So it was interesting. 2022, Vasquez had 4 in a row, and that was between July and August. And then Lucho's done it over the past 2 seasons, 2 separate times as well. Right now, Denkey's going to potentially be joining that list and maybe even beyond. So it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 players that will, I mean, 2 of them, right, are already in FC Cincinnati history as, some of the best. And like you said, Denkey, if he'll get a 4th straight and then he'll get 12 goals, right, I think that'll be something special.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could do it too, especially if he's taken the PKs. We've had, I think, a few this year. He's had 2,
He's
maybe?
got 3.
3, okay. So tell me, Baribo, I believe, is still in the lead for Golden Boot
Yeah, yeah,
for
he's got
Philly.
13. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is going to be a fun race for the rest of
Mhm.
the season. I think the Golden Boot is going to be one to watch. In years past, it's been up there as well. And I think, the way that Messi's played lately with Miami too, like him, obviously, he's always in the running for MVP, but between him and Evander, is Denkey now going to even step his game up to, if he can lead Golden Boot race, and would you put him more of an MVP candidate too?
I mean, maybe. I know Ty Barrivo right now has a couple assists as well.
It's all
Denkey is,
goal contributions, I think, is what they look at.
yeah. So Denkey may need a couple assists to, be in that conversation for most people. But yeah, I mean, if I would say if he gets to the point now, he's going to have to go on a tear. But if you get to a point where you're in charge of the goals by maybe 2 or 3 goals, then conversations need to be had.
Yeah, I think at some point you got to look at that. It's always going to be on this popularity contest sort of thing. But next couple matches, Sam, Montreal on the road, Orlando City on the road. That's going to be a tough one. So we'll see if he can get it together for that. We will, again, next episode, give you guys a preview, possibly a special guest. Hope you guys have been enjoying having those for the last few weeks. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Go like, comment, subscribe. We might have a possible partnership or opportunity coming up here soon that we might be announcing. So again, stay tuned for that.